Hello everyone. In this video, I'd like to show you two things. The first one is how to change the colors using variables. And the second one, it's related to the same thing, basically, but some time ago I made this post showing the evolution of the soybean planted area in Brazil. And basically, I will show you how I created this because I had the same dashboard for many other crops. And these thresholds here, they are also, I could also change them and the colors as well. So I'm going to show you how I did that, and the app will be available to you, but using population in Brazil, okay? The impact is not the same, basically, because here we can see that like it's very different in 1988 to 2019, but it's still like basically what I want to show you here. It's the how it works, not the data itself. Okay, so the first part here, let's dive in the variables. So you'll be able to select any color and also the opposite color. Okay, for that, let's just start a new app here, and all we're going to use is the, let's take here this variable input. Okay, and I will create the red variable. I will call it R and define it as 0. What is and why is that? Because the RGB scheme, you can type it here in Google. Let me just bring it from my other screen. We can pick here any color, and we can see that the max value is 255 for red, green, or blue. And basically, we're going to change these variables here in our formula. Okay, so coming back to here, let's change the appearance, make it a slider, update on drag, and the max value will be 255. This is our variable, and okay, we got our first one. Let's do the same for green and blue. Creating the variables with the same logic, so G would be green, 0 as the default value, and B of blue, 0, 2. Okay, now changing here the R to G and the R to B in here. We can now change these values here, but we don't see anything, right? Let me just make it in the other team here. Okay. How can we change this? If I or visualize, basically, if I bring this 3 map here or any other visual, basically, let me bring here, like I can just make it any column. Okay, that's just too much. Let me insert here 1 as the dimension. You gotta make it like this, and the measure 1 as well. Okay, so I got a big box here, and I will change the color of this box based on my variables. So we come here and change the color using an expression, and basically using the RGB function. The first parameter is the R, and to call the variable, we need to use the $ in parentheses. So this is my R value, this is my G value, and my blue value. Okay, so we got here our RGB colors, and we can change this using our sliders. Okay, and we can do the same thing, but for the opposite color, just changing one very simple thing. So as the max value is 255, we can just subtract the variable. So 255 minus our variable will bring the opposite color, right? So opposite and the real color here. Now let's load this table here in line in our script. And basically, you can insert as many colors as you want. And the logic here is to have a color and the color code here from light to dark. Okay, so the first one here is light red and the last one is dark red. I'm gonna show you with 5 divisions, but you can like adapt to your case. So let's start by creating here in the data load editor, and this will be available to you, the colors. Okay, and I also got here a location table and a population table. In this case, the population of every city in Brazil. They are linked by this code, the code of the city. And let's work with this. Creating a new sheet here. Basically, well, we can use the pivot table to see that first table using the row in the row here the sort color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in the columns we have the color itself. Okay. For the values, I will just use 1 because the main. We could also use the color code, but yeah, let's just call the color code here. Basically, it's the same table that we have here, but in a pivot format. And we'll use the same color for the background expression. So color code, and there we have it. What I want to do to show you is that we can dynamically change the color scheme that we want. Okay, so the first thing I will do here is to create a vColor variable, and the default value will be red. Okay, and we will change this, but using the custom object here, the variable input. Let's bring our vColor. So we got red here, and we can make it a drop-down list using a dynamic. So red, yellow, green, and blue. Okay, we got it here, but it doesn't change anything, right? Let me just type in here color. We're gonna use we'll have to create two kinds of variables. Okay, the first one will be the thresholds of our grouping scheme. So what kind of group are we calling 1, 2, 3, and so on. And the other one will bring the colors with a set analysis expression. Okay, so to start that, I will have to explain you very quickly what I have in here. So in this data set, we have the cities in Brazil, so cidade, and we can sum the population. In this case, just be aware that we got, I think, 8 years of data. So I need to sum here only the 2020. So São Paulo, for example, more than 12 million people, Rio de Janeiro, almost 7 million, and so on. So we can group in like the first group or the fifth group can be cities that are bigger than, let's say, 2.5 million inhabitants, for example. So we would have 6 cities in this group, and the other group would have X people, and so on. So to do that, basically, I will create using an Aggr function in the master items, one dimension, okay? And for that, we'll have to use these variables. So first, let's create the view1. I can set it for 0, but let's just insert here any value, for example, 20,000. V2 could be 40,000. V3, 80,000. V4, and V5. Okay, so now we got our variables here, and let's just bring it to our visual. I will speed up so that you don't have to waste time just watching me make the same thing over and over. Okay, so we got our variables in here and we can change the values. Let me just put in here 2.5 million inhabitants so that we can use this as an example. Now I'm going to use the master items to create an expression that will group the cities based on the population. Okay, so basically we have the aggregate function, and our last column will be city, and inside here let's do many ifs. So if the sum of the population is less or equals to our first variable, our v1, so bring me the minor sign with the number that I'm calling as the variable. So as the v1, let's divide it by 1,000 so it gets more readable, and the format with a k at the end. The same thing will repeat for the other ones. So if v2 it's smaller than v2, so bring me this one, and so on. v5, and if it's bigger than v5, greater than v5, just change the sign here, and that's all. Let's just close the parenthesis. Let's call it city pop group. And let's bring it to a chart in here. Now let's count the number of cities that we have, the number of distinct cities, right? In this case, it doesn't make any difference because we only had in our aggregation only this column. And let's sort it using the same logic, but using the mean function. So sum of the population, city in here, and we get our group sorted according to what we have in the threshold in here. Well, let's just try. Yeah, I forgot to change one of the values in here. That's why it's not showing up. V2, yeah, okay. So if I change here to 50,000 and then 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people, this is not correctly sorted. Let me just check it. Why? Yeah, in the dimension here, I forgot to change the value, but now it's fine. So we got in the right order, and we can see here that we have 6 cities that are greater than 2.5 million people. So basically from here to São Paulo, right? And we can also select from this group, right? So if we want to select this intervals, cities that are less, and like I need to explain you that it's less than 500,000, but bigger than 200,000. Okay, so this group here is responsible for these cities. Okay, all right. So we got our first step in here. Now let's change the colors based on this, and we need to create another set of variables. And for that, I will call it as C. Okay, so C1 will use an only expression, and so C1 here will be our only color code, but using the set analysis because I want to bring the color code when the color is equals to our variable vColor, and we can see in here that we have selected green in this case. And also the second parameter in the set here will be the sort order. Okay, so the sort color needs to be 1 because this is the C1, so that it makes sense. Okay, and so C1 will be, in this case, this green. Actually, you'll understand in a second, but if we change here to red, for example, in the set analysis, we will get red in the set. Okay, so C2, what will be C2? The same thing, but changing the order here to the second row. Okay, so we got red in the second value of sort color, and so on. Let's do the same for C3. C4 and C5. Okay, so we got all these colors in here. Now let's create a function that will work based on the groups that we have and also in this only function. I will create this using this chart. We could be using any other, like a variable or any other chart, but in this case, let's just make it like this. So in the color expression, let's do the following. If the max value of my aggregation using the sum of population and city, it's less or equals to my V1, bring me white. So what I'm saying is the first group, that is the, like with the cities that have very few people, bring me white. Okay, and if not, if the max value of these cities they are less or equals to my V2, bring me C1, my variable C1, which means that whole expression using the only function. Okay, now let's repeat the same, just changing the values that we have. So if it's smaller than less than V3, bring me C2. If it's less than V4, bring me C3. Less than V5, bring me C4. Oops. And if not, just bring me C5, which would be the main, like with the most people, right? So closing all the parentheses. Actually, I forgot to close in here the max from all of them. Okay, hit apply, and there we go. We have now the first logic to change the colors. So let me just make it here 1.5 million. It's still not that visible. Let's change the values here so that we can get more cities in the groups. Not there yet, so let's make it 50, 100. Let's make it 150 here, 200, and 300. Yeah, not yet that visible, but we can change like that. That's what makes it so handy because we can dynamically change all of this and basically change the colors too. So now it's better. So we have more than 200 cities with more than 150,000 inhabitants, and we can select them from here. And we can change the colors in here that will respond to this chart, okay? Oops. Good, so we have now what we want. Just to show you the limits, I will create reference lines in here and change the format of the chart, okay? So we can see that we have our groups in here, okay? And as we go on in here, we have the limits all set up in here. But if I zoom in here, okay, it's not a perfect selection. Let's select it from here. So selecting these cities, we can see that they are below this threshold. And if we scroll more here, the colors change according to the city. And we can bring this to a map. This will respond the same way. And that's why this was so clear in that post. So we can see how it evolves over time if we have the thresholds like fixed. Okay, so let's bring this to a chart, to a map chart, and show you how you can play with it with your data, with your like any analysis that you want to do. We are not going to analyze this data set, okay, because the population in Brazil, it doesn't change that much from year to year in the cities. But if you analyze, for example, crop-wise or any other aspect, this could be very useful, or sales and so on, okay? Okay, so now we have a map showing the population according to the group we have here. And we can select a specific group, like only cities that are greater than 20,000 people and have less than 50,000 people. And we can change these values in here. So basically, if I insert here 5,000, for example, we will have a much greater group in this one, right? And again, we can change the values, the colors, and to any of those you can set in your own way. And if I just play here using the animation, we can see that it will, like, this is very nice to see when we have impactful data, like in this case it's not correctly so well set, but when you analyze sales or the production of some inputs, this is very interesting. I have here the same chart that we had before, just showing you the cities. And basically that's it. I hope you like it. I hope you find some use case for this. There are many things you can do with it, you can play with. And you can download this QVF in the blog or in the description here. If you have any questions, if you like this video, please let me know. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.